The Bureaucrat, a novel by Levi Sweeney, read by the author. Chapter 11, Marco. Recall, video 42059, archive, July 2024. Playing video. Beep! Thomas D. and Marco Tonlin were out doorbelling for Rich Everett together in a quiet neighborhood in Kent. It was a nice, partly cloudy day. Marco was a very nice man. It was a Sunday. Marco was holding a teeny strawberry smoothie. Yeah, so my dad was a Baptist preacher, said Marco, as he and Thomas navigated using a smartphone app on Marco's tablet. You? Thomas hesitated. He was a very private person. My family runs a newspaper chain on the East Coast. Oh, nice, said Marco, not looking up from the app. Marco Tonlin could read the room. That's why he was the undisputed YR state chair, and probably would be for as long as he wanted the job. Thomas pointed to a large house down the street. I think that's our next stop, Marco. Okay. Yeah, this is it. Want me to lead? Sure. Marco rang the doorbell. Ding dong. A man answered the door. A little taller than both of them, perhaps in his 50s or 60s, black, wearing sunglasses and a backwards baseball cap, dressed in casual clothing. Hey, what can I do for you boys? Said the man. He didn't smile, but he wasn't unkind. Hello, sir, said Marco, whose day job was in B2B sales. And my name is Marco, and this is my friend Thomas. We are canvassing for Rich Everett for governor, and we wanted to know if we could ask you some questions. The man nodded. His name was Dennis or something, per the app. Sure, said Dennis. Shoot. Okay, said Marco. Would you consider voting for Rich Everett for governor of Washington in the 2024 general election, or would you prefer a different candidate? Dennis shook his head. I'm an independent. I haven't made up my mind yet, to be honest. Marco punched a button on the app, breaking eye contact with Dennis for exactly 1 second and no longer. Would you like us to leave some brochures or flyers with you so you can learn more information about Rich Everett? Dennis blinked. Sure, that'd be fine. Okay, and one last question. What political issue is most important to you, Dennis? Marco then, clearly at just the right speed, read off a list of about 12 political issues. The app the two canvassers were using doubled as a way to collect polling data for the RNC. Dennis cupped his chin in his left hand briefly. Then he said to Marco, Inflation. Yeah, inflation. Okay, said Marco, smiling broadly. Thank you for your time, sir. Please enjoy your Sunday. Marco and Dennis shook hands. Thomas listened. After Marco and Thomas left the house, they went back to Marco's car. It's been a long day, said Marco. Want to call it quits? I'll buy you Dairy Queen or something. You okay with milk products? Sure, that's fine. No allergies to worry about, Marco. Great. Thomas and Marco drove up I-5, heading back to Thomas's apartment. Marco said he'd be fine taking Thomas home, even all the way back to Seattle's south side. Marco had lots of time on his hands, apparently. He was always sharing pictures on social media of all the tourist spots he and his wife Lauren were going to, all over the country. They looked like they were having a lot of fun. Marco was a fun guy. Thomas slurped his milkshake. So, how'd you get started in sales? Said Thomas. Got a warehouse job in SF while in college, said Marco, carefully studying the road. He was a bit tubby, with black sunglasses, a non-MAGA baseball hat, and an old t-shirt. He had a dark, scruffy beard. He was biracial. My boss saw I was good with people, and they gave me a sales job. Had a great talent for it, worked hard, later wound up at my current company here in Seattle. Never finished college, but I make pretty good money. Met the love of my life through the party, and now I'm here. Thomas nodded. Marco's life sounded pretty nice, but it wasn't the life Thomas had. It just wasn't. Marco kept silent. He focused on driving. So, Marco, said Thomas. He was sure Marco wouldn't mind if he asked. You post a lot of pictures of those vacations you take on Facebook, and you do a lot of work for the party, and you have a really good job at a bank. How do you find all this time? Marco Tonlin laughed hard. He shook his head. Well, to be honest, Thomas, said Marco, I often combine business with pleasure. I travel a lot for my job, and I take advantage of my obligated work trips to see a lot of sights. Also, I spend a lot of time networking with YR chapters in other states when I'm traveling for work. Lauren and I have a lot of fun meeting all those people. She loves this too. Thomas D. nodded. Makes sense. Thomas probably would have conjectured something a bit different, more imaginative, but completely false. He disliked conjecturing. He wondered, do they have children? I don't know. He decided not to ask at that moment. He felt that it was none of his business at the time anyway. Marco kept studying the road. They'd be at Thomas's apartment in about 70 minutes. Traffic was really bad, but that was Seattle. Thomas and Marco were friends. Neither of them said so, but they didn't have to. That's what it means to be friends. So, Long Island, huh? Said Marco. Thomas had invited Marco into his apartment just to chill a little. Marco thought that sounded fun. They were both drinking some soft drinks out of glass bottles which Thomas had gotten from Steve German. It was a dusky, early evening. Yeah, said Thomas. I remember it well. I might go back soon. Said Marco, taking a drink. Yeah, I'm glad most of my family's in the Northwest. It hasn't always been easy, but I like it here. It's home. A bit of quiet. Marco. So, if you do go back to New York, will you get involved with the YRs over there? They have a pretty great party in New York, actually. Maybe, said Thomas, sitting in his new swivel chair. He now had 2 swivel chairs. One for him, another for a friend. But I'm not sure. Probably no, honestly. I like doing this, and it's fun, but working 55 hours a week in my dad's office sounds a bit more fun, to be frank. Marco smiled. Totally understand. Macrozon ain't your jam, really? Well... Thomas thought a little. He bowed his head. To be honest, I thought they would have given me a permanent office by now. I thought they'd demand I go work in their building, permanently. I'm obviously a valuable employee. I've seen the stat charts they keep on me, but really, I honestly feel like a pawn on a chessboard. And I kind of hate chess, really. It doesn't reflect reality. War isn't like chess. It's actually more like gardening, frankly. I think Orson Scott Card wrote that in one of his books a long time ago, or something. Marco shook his cup, which wriggled with ice. Empty. He stopped smiling. Seattle is not a great city, he said. It's home, but it's not great. Thomas looked up at Marco. Something on your mind, Mr. Chair, he said. Marco shrugged and took another drink. He'd be leaving soon. Oh, no, I just get poetic sometimes. Romantic is all. My wife's a writer. She's working on a novel. Thomas had met Lauren at the LD meeting all those months ago, where he asked questions about leadership and served people Italian food. Lauren wasn't just smart and educated. She was wise and kind and caring and loved Marco and... Marco, Thomas thought, as he showed his friend out the door and they shook hands again. I would love to have what you have. It's not my life, and I don't wish it was, but it sounds really, really nice. Thanks, man. God bless. September 2024. Elsewhere. James JJD Jr. had figured out a long time ago that if you really wanted to impress a woman and you were a man, you should not offer to take her out to lunch. You should instead quietly mention that you had nothing better to do on a Monday afternoon, buy your own cleaning supplies, and scrub her spare bathroom spick and span. It had taken him until 1984 or thereabouts to figure that one out. That was why JJD, man of the world, media mogul, captain of industry, co-founder of the Maverick Group, and proud aspirant to and achiever of the American Dream, was spending his daughter's birthday on his hands and very healthy knees scrubbing the first-floor bathroom at the house Julia had been sharing with JJD's mother-in-law for a few years now. It was a little dusty, but not for much longer. JJ's first job in the U.S. in San Francisco in the 70s had been scrubbing toilets at a Jack-in-the-Box. He'd also learned how to make cheeseburgers. He worked there for nearly 3 years, back in SF. Grandma was in a very nice facility right now. She was doing okay. They visited all the time. The whole family was getting involved. Even the trans were visiting every few months. He sprayed cleaning fluid on the toilet and scrubbed it with paper towels. JJ wasn't sure how to feel about this house. After he'd made his first million in 1990 or so, he moved the family to the state of New York for career reasons. He brought his in-laws along for the ride. They didn't like New York much, but it was all good. He mopped the linoleum floor. The family is divided right now, he thought, and I want Tommy back so he can pick up where I left off. Keep the business going. Or not. Maybe he'll go do something else. That is okay. We have other relatives and friends who can take over the business, but I do want Thomas back. Thomas. That visit in June with me and Wanda was nice, but... He was thinking about a certain very unseemly night in New Haven, Connecticut, about a decade ago almost. Why did I shout so much that night? I never shouted at him before. Now he probably hears me shouting in the back of his brilliant little head every time he sees a picture of me. Thomas, come back, my boy. I miss you. It's been long enough. You can come home. He took out the garbage and then left the house, locking the door behind him. He thought he'd walk over to that one nice deli which Julia liked and buy sub sandwiches for the two of them later. JJD's thoughts. Thomas said he would come back. He said that in June, but he still hasn't filled out that application yet. I will call him again tomorrow morning. Tomorrow is Tuesday. Yes, I can work from home that day. Certainly. That would be lovely. He would love a call. We should make a regular thing of it. Please come back, Tommy. Son. I miss you. Thomas lay in bed. He had just had a casual chat on the phone with his dad. A certain young lady had been a topic of conversation. Thomas D could sleep fine, but... Lena Tran, it has been a very, very long time since summer camp. Yes, it was trap shooting. We were both really good at it. No, neither of us was better than the other. We both got the exact same score. We even tied for first place when we all had a mock competition later. No analysis necessary. October 2024. Thomas went doorbelling for Everett again. This time it was with Debbie Erickson, a woman from his LD. Debbie was a brunette, petite, aging, perhaps in her mid-40s, a very dedicated party member. She came to as many meetings as she could. She supported Donald Trump and also Sid Meiber, and she homeschooled her 4 children. Her husband was an HVAC technician. I like Debbie, thought Thomas as he walked through a quiet suburb near Tacoma. She's not lonely or desperate, like a lot of others in this party. She just cares a lot. I think I doorbelled in this neighborhood when Jordan Blair was running for Senate, said Debbie as she operated the phone app. The blonde nurse chick? Mother Hubbard, I wish she'd won. Thought Thomas D. That would have been great, yeah, he said. They knocked on some doors, talked to a lot of people, collected data, and did their jobs. They went back to Debbie's house in South Seattle, driving her blue, used SUV. They had carpooled from Debbie's house. Thomas would take an Uber home from there. So you don't mind volunteering for Everett? Said Thomas as they moved up the highway. Debbie studied the road. She shrugged slightly. It's fine, she said. I mean, yeah, I like Sid, but we need a Republican governor. At this point, any Republican governor. Things aren't great, and, well, any old port in a storm, right? Thomas smiled. 100%, Debbie. Debbie kept driving. She didn't talk the most, but she was really hardworking. She had actually been at Thomas D's caucus speech and had offered to give the invocation. It had been a nice prayer. Thomas. So, what do you think of Russ Gerson, the Democratic AG who's running for governor against Rich Everett now? Debbie cocked her head to one side. Well, he's a Democrat, right? I don't know much about him, honestly, but Rich has got his work cut out for him. Definitely. Thomas recalled something Travis Wood had said. It was the evil Ken McNor thing again. The two had been in the same crowded, sad room. Thomas D. felt very sorry for Travis when the county chair was talking in that room. Trav had an unenviable job. He was trying to be a good leader, but he wasn't a good leader. He was trying, though. What's going on, Mr. Chair? Talk to me, buddy. Let me in, please. Thomas D. shook his head when he heard Trav's speech and had said nothing. Later that same month. Thomas D. had been talking to Steve German again. Thomas went to Steve's house on a Sunday, and they grilled some steaks and hot dogs together and drank homemade lemonade that Steve's wife had made. No, of course not, said Steve, wearing his big white Stetson hat as usual. He and Thomas dined on ribeye on a picnic table in Steve's backyard. I mean, I wouldn't say evil. I mean, yes, Russ is very, very good at what he does, and, well, I honestly think he's a lot smarter than McNor ever was, and McNor was pretty smart. Have you ever met Ken McNor? Said Thomas. He knew who Ken McNor was. He read newspapers. Oh, no, said Steve. I know him by reputation. Met one guy who worked as, a finance chair for one of his campaigns, but no, never met Ken. I met Russ, though. What's Russ Gerson like? Kind of mild-mannered, a bit of a nerd, maybe. Smart, empathetic, I guess. I ran into him at this charity dinner, when he was on the King County Council. He's one of the VIP guests or something. I know Travis thinks he's woke or something, but Russ honestly doesn't fit that profile. He doesn't fit very many profiles at all, to be frank. Russ is a pragmatist. He's basically like Bill Clinton, just with better morals and worse hair. That made Thomas D. laugh out loud. He and Debbie Erickson spent every weekend in October doorbelling for Rich Everett. Rich Everett lost the election. Sometime in 2025, Thomas D. decided that Russ Gerson wasn't doing too bad a job as governor of Washington. By that time, even Travis Wood agreed with that notion. This is The Bureaucrat, a novel by Levi Sweeney. You have been listening to Chapter 11. Thank you.